Welcome to Living a Nutritious Life. I'm Keri Glassman, a celebrity registered dietitian nutritionist. Join me every Tuesday on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms as I bring in some heavy hitters to share the latest in nutrition and wellness science. We dive deep into food, sleep, stress, relationships, and so much more. Your weekly guide to a happier, healthier, more nutritious life. Are you the friend who's always being asked for health advice? Now imagine turning that passion into a fulfilling career with our Become a Nutrition Coach program. Step into a world where your enthusiasm for wellness becomes the heart of your own thriving business. With me as your professor and guide and coach on our user-friendly digital platform, you can learn from anywhere at your very own pace. It's perfect for your busy life. Envision empowering others to live their healthiest lives, all while growing a career you love. You're not just gaining a certification here, you're joining a community of like-minded professionals ready to support and celebrate with you every step of the way. So what are you waiting for? It's time to nourish your future and help change lives, including your own. Head over to nutritiouslife.com/BNC for a free class and a sneak peek of the program. Your journey to becoming a nutrition coach begins now. Where are all of my mocktail loving or sober curious friends? This episode is for you. Welcome back. I'm Keri Glassman, and on today's episode of Living a Nutritious Life, I sat down with Chloe Bergson and Alison Evans, Harvard Business School grads who turned a failed dinner party margarita into SAYSO, the first craft cocktail mix in a teabag. We talked about entrepreneurship, the ingredient swaps they used in their product to make it healthier and contain less sugar than traditional mixers, and the booming mocktail movement. Their story is about making it easier to enjoy delicious drinks without all the sugar and additives, and also about pivoting and perseverance. If you're an aspiring founder or someone who loves an easy cocktail or mocktail, you're going to love this episode. So let's do this and hear from Chloe and Allison. Hello, Chloe and Allison. Welcome to the Living a Nutritious Life podcast. I am so excited to chat with you today and hear your incredible story.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We're excited too.
Yeah, Keri.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So you two met at Harvard Business School and you came up with SAYSO, which I'm really excited for you to tell us all about. But I know you came up with the idea of SAYSO in a startup boot camp, right? Is that correct? Right? And was that in a class? How did that happen?
You go for it, Al.
Okay. Alrighty. Yes. So Chloe and I met at Harvard Business School. We connected early on. We both came from similar career backgrounds in the retail space, but really wanted to pursue something entrepreneurial. And so Harvard offers this optional course. It's an intensive program. It's a week long before your classes resume for your second semester. And Chloe and I, you apply to the course with a business idea. And if you're accepted, you get to go and do a boot camp on nurturing that idea, and it culminates in a pitch. So we were trying to make a dinner party for friends at business school when we realized we could not make a decent cocktail and knew there had to be a better and easier way to do this at home. And so that was kind of the initial spark to our idea, which initially was a cocktail infusion product. So we submitted that idea to this course, were accepted, and worked on it intensively for the week. And during the customer feedback groups we held, we pivoted the product from the infusion product into the cocktail in a tea bag.
Okay, so you were literally like trying to make a cocktail at home. Like, what kind of a cocktail? I actually want to know like the details of that. Like, what do you mean? Like, you were like, I want to make a margarita, but I'm not making a good one. Like, what happened here?
Right. We were trying to make a margarita. So we actually, Alison and I lived in the same building when we were at Harvard, and we often had dinner parties. That was like really the bulk of our social life. We feel like was just like hosting dinner parties, kind of like having gatherings with friends. And we decided to do a dinner party. It was in the fall, and we made margaritas. And
Oh, that's funny that I said margarita. I didn't even know that. That's just
no, it was a margarita. And it's funny, like Alison and I actually like consider ourselves to be pretty decent in the kitchen. Like we know how to cook, we can put things together. But for some reason we just could not make a good margarita. And it was so bad that it was comical. Like it was either too sweet, it was too tart. We were like missing a key ingredient. Like it was bad, like all around. And we just felt like there has to be an easier way. There has to be a way that isn't like full of sugar and crap that you would find on a shelf. And so that was really the moment where we were like, okay, we have an idea.
So it was sort of this going for a healthier, easier cocktail. That was sort of like, would you say that was like the main goal?
Exactly. We wanted something that wasn't full of sugar, didn't have any, artificial ingredients,
Mm-hmm.
and we wanted it to be easy. We wanted it to be quick. We didn't want to have to buy 1,000 ingredients for it. Normally, if you're buying fresh ingredients, they're perishable. You'll use like half of it or less.
Right,
And
right.
so it just felt wasteful also. So we wanted to address all of those things.
Okay, amazing. Okay, so then what happened from there? So you do this boot camp, you go from there, and then how did you go from that boot camp class to having this product now out there and available?
So we continued working on it after the class. We had a really great reception to it after the pitch. Everyone loved it, including the investors, the professors, and everyone that was watching. So we worked on it kind of casually throughout the rest of school. We were making the product, by hand, testing different things among our friend groups, among, other
Mm-hmm.
people on campus. And then when we graduated, we found that we had taken into a place where we felt like we had, very close to product market fit.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided, okay, we're going to give this a chance and work on it full time and see where it goes. And so we started making the product entirely by hand. We would put together assembly lines of mostly college students, honestly, or friends, or Allison's mom was like an MVP. Like she
Got to bring the moms in there. I love it.
she like single-handedly, I think, made 90% of our handmade product. It was crazy. She's
Amazing.
A workhorse. And so we did that for a while. And at the same time, we were looking for a co-packer, someone who could, make the product commercially. And that took a really long time because the product is really unique. It's not easy to put sugar into a teabag machine. That's something that we learned. It is not easy to put powder in a teabag machine. There are a lot of different issues and complexities that come along with all of that. So that process was really, it was tough. It was long and hard, and we felt like, we were hitting all kinds of roadblocks, and there definitely was a point at which we were like, we're not going to be able to do this. But thankfully we found a co-packer in the New York area that was willing to take us on, family business, small, and they gave us a shot, and we've been with them ever since with the teabag product. So that's how we brought that to life, or brought it to market in a more, commercial way.
I want to ask you about this because I know that SAYSO is the first craft cocktail mix in a teabag form, which you just mentioned. You use these dehydrated whole food ingredients in biodegradable bags. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, and you just said that there were all of these hurdles, and then you finally found this co-packer. You said it was it's a small family business. They were willing to take you on. What did you have to do or reformulate to be able to do this? Because as you're talking about it, I'm thinking about that. Like, how are you putting, what types of food and ingredients are you using and putting in a tea bag? Like, I'm so curious about that. Like, what are some of the ingredients?
So they're all powdered ingredients, powdered or granulated or whole pieces. So essentially, we had to work really hard at finding ingredients that were similar in density, similar in granule size. And we did have to bring the product through a process called agglomeration as well, that helped essentially spit out a granule that was homogeneous in size. So it goes through a tumbler, it's it's a food processing machine essentially.
Okay.
And that is one way that we helped address some of the issues. But the truth is that it's still a really challenging product to run through a teabag machine.
Right. I'm sure.
Yeah, and there are issues, potentially with separation, and so actually more recently, we have decided to change the format a little bit. So now we've graduated from tea bags to stick packs, which is essentially
okay.
a foreign version of essentially the same ingredients. So
Okay.
instead of having, for example, actual pieces of jalapeno in our spicy margarita, it's the exact same ingredient but powdered in our stick pack version.
So are you going to only go to stick now, or are you still like the stick powders, or are you going to also have the tea bag options?
We're gonna wait and see. It's
Okay.
gonna depend on the reception to it. We have some big customers in retail that are still using the tea bag, so it will be a gradual process, and we'll evaluate once we have a better sense of where the customer is with it.
Okay. And so I have a question about the tea bags, because when you think about using a tea bag too, you're thinking about adding hot water, right? And steeping it and sipping and all that. So how do you do that with a drink that's being served cold? Like, what's the process there? Like, how does somebody actually use this tea bag at home and make their drink? What are they doing? Are they adding hot water? How are they doing this?
No, so it is a cold water infusion. So because all of the ingredients are granulated or powdered, like Chloe mentioned, they're able to be dissolved in cold water, just like if you have an iced coffee and you add a sweetener or sugar,
Yep.
it will dissolve when you stir it. So it's the same concept. It's not like there's no tea leaves. There's no tea in any of our products.
Right.
It really just is the dehydrated version of natural ingredients. So in our margarita, for example, we have dehydrated lime as one of the biggest ingredients. And then when you add cold water, it rehydrates that dehydrated lime into a fresh lime juice.
Yeah, that makes total sense. That makes total sense. And especially, people add powders to their waters all the time. I know I add my creatine and electrolytes and collagen to water every morning. I think people are used to that. So that makes sense. But just when you think of tea bags and you think of this, steep and sip, I think you say that somewhere. I heard you mention that at something I had read about, the steep and sip experience. I think you think hot. So that's why I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, thank you for clarifying that. And that is additionally another point as to why we've introduced the stick pack format. Because no matter how intuitive we believed the tea bags were and are, when we looked at our customer reviews, we noticed that anytime we got a bad review, it was because the customer was not steeping the tea bag properly. So you can't just drop it in like you would with a hot tea. You really did to kind of like rustle the bag to get the ingredients to dissolve. And we were finding some customers were not doing that. So then when they would go to drink their cocktail or mocktail, it wasn't full flavor. And we really have created a full flavor product here. So, and exactly like you, people are used to adding the stick.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when we introduce the stick pack, we really can just like regain control of the customer experience, because it is as simple as pour and stir, and everyone knows how to use it, versus being confused with a hot tea, which is how tea bags are traditionally used.
Right. I know. Well, that's why I was asking. And I think it does. There is something that's a little more intuitive about just the packs like that you're introducing now. It does make sense. And I do even think from that mocktail perspective, I know that these were made to be the mixers for actual cocktails where you then add the alcohol. And I'm sure do you give like the recipes for that, how much alcohol to add?
Yes.
Right. So,
and we how to make it as a mocktail.
Okay, so that was my question too. Do you actually give the mocktail version as well? Because that's what I would just do. And I think like that's like a really amazing option, is to have something that is a powder that you can make your own mocktail right there. I mean, I'm thinking about myself here. I'm like, I barely drink. I mean, very rarely drink at this point in my life. And I always appreciate making a mocktail at home for me, I've gotten pretty good at, and I can't wait to use these stick packs, but I've gotten pretty good at making them at home. However, when I go to a restaurant or I go out, like not all restaurants have them. And I always appreciate when they have like a real mocktail, a mocktail that is like really made to be a mocktail. So you can really enjoy it like you would a drink. But I'm just thinking, I'm like, this would be so amazing to travel with, B, just when I'm going to a restaurant, just if they don't have a real mocktail, like throwing a stick pack in. And then, so you're giving like the formula to make something a mocktail as well as a cocktail. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. And we do have customers that do that bring us to restaurants. And that's our favorite thing. Like we hear about all kinds of use cases, but when we hear about customers bringing us to restaurants, we love that. But yes, and that's another reason why we moved to the stick packs, is because they're individually wrapped. So you can literally stick one in your bag. You can stick two. Like, you don't have to stick a whole pouch of 8 in your bag of tea bags that, would get messy and leak and whatnot. So that was a big advantage too. But in terms of cocktail versus mocktailing, we found that about 35% of our customers right now use the product as a mocktail. And that number is definitely growing. When we launched our business, it was closer to 30%, between 25 and 30%. And now it's 35. And we definitely see that trend is growing. Younger generations are drinking less, and really across the board, like everyone seems to be just drinking less. Like they're more conscious of health and wellness. They want to live longer, like all the things. And so it is becoming a really big part of our business.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, the whole sober curious, I think, trend is really, it is. I've looked at a lot of those stats. I don't have them top of mind, but I've looked at a lot of the stats of like how what you just mentioned, younger generations are drinking less. And it's interesting because I know, I was never a huge drinker, but I absolutely enjoyed my cocktails and wine here and there. And then I just got to a certain age where I could not even have a sip of wine without getting a migraine. And then it became alcohol too. I couldn't even have any alcohol without having a massive migraine. So I really stopped drinking altogether. But that hit me more like during, the beginnings of perimenopause. So it's interesting seeing the trend in this, like, younger generation. But it makes me happy. I think it's great. And I think it's great that there's so many more options out there. But what do you think? So the sober curious and these mindful, drinking movements have definitely accelerated, as we're talking about now. But why do you think that consumers are leaning into this shift?
I think options, like having options, is a really big piece of it. Now, when we were in high school, college, like at that age where you're starting to experiment with drinking, there really just was, there's water and there's like sodas or there's alcohol. I think, you're looking to have fun and experiment and do things. And now there's more. Like if you don't want to drink, there are actually interesting drinks that you can have that taste good and complex and delicious that aren't water or soda. So I think that's a really big piece of it. But I also think that just in general, there's more information about health and wellness. People are more aware of it. I think that overall it's a really good thing. And, younger generations are starting to, it's like cigarettes, like, for the longest time, people didn't understand like how it affected them.
Right.
And now there's so much more awareness about how alcohol can affect you and, affect your longevity and everything else. So I think that those two things combined are what are driving that.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. Sorry.
I was just going to add, I know you said your audience likes the stats, and this year it was reported that only 54% of American adults are drinking alcohol.
Wow.
So across the board, we see that shift.
Have you ever looked at a skincare product and thought, I wonder if this is actually going to work? I think we've all done that, right? With OneSkin, I never wonder if it's going to work because I have real proof. Their whole company is led by scientists with backgrounds in tissue engineering, stem cell biology, and skin regeneration. And their products are backed by rigorous lab and clinical studies. The OS1 body is definitely helping my crepey skin, and I'm obsessed with the tinted OS1 Face SPF. It feels like butter going on, and it feels so good knowing that it's moisturizing my skin and protecting it all at the same time. I just love it. At the heart of their topical supplements is their proprietary OS1 peptide, the first ingredient scientifically proven to reverse skin's biological age by targeting cellular senescence. Those are those zombie cells that make your skin age faster than it needs to. Think about that crepey skin that we all want to get rid of. The research on their OS1 peptide has been published in peer-reviewed journals such as NPJ Aging. And not only that, the data for OS1 and their products clearly are listed on their website, so you can learn all about that and the incredible science behind all of their products. In lab studies, they've measured a 130% increase in collagen production with their OS1 eye cream. And another study showed that their SPF neutralizes free radicals. Those are those bad guy compounds that I always talk about, 4 times more effectively than other so-called anti-aging sunscreens. The proof is in the numbers, friends. Try OneSkin and see for yourself. And you can get 15% off your first order with the code Keri, that's Keri, at oneskin.co/Keri. That's oneskin.co/Keri.
And we see that with our customer base as well. So when we first started in 2022, we had 30% of our customers using our product as a mocktail, and now it's probably at 40%. So it's increased significantly, and that's just exclusive mocktail use. Actually, the majority of our customers are what we like to call flexible drinkers. So they do drink alcohol, but they also like non-alcoholic drinks as well. And that's one of the reasons why they love SAYSO so much, is they can have their first drink with spirits, their second SAYSO without, and it's like the same delicious taste with or without.
Yeah, I love that. I like that idea for people, because I think that there are many people out there that you said are like that flexible drinker, where they're, some nights they're drinking, some nights they choose not to. Like, they're definitely being more mindful. They're not necessarily giving it up altogether, but they're being much more intentional about when and how much they're drinking. So I love that's like an option. Like, either way, add a little bit of tequila to this mix, or, add club soda, whatever. So what is your favorite mix that you make, and how would you make it as a mocktail and a cocktail?
We can both answer.
Yeah, you can both answer.
We have kind of similar answers, just based on how we've answered this before. But I think I really like the skinny spicy margarita. That's my favorite one. I love spice, so like anything with a kick is good for me.
Okay.
I don't like tequila though very much, and so I would if I'm making it as a cocktail, I'll make it with gin.
Okay.
My favorite mocktail of ours is our Paloma, and I once made it with muddled strawberry in it. Just water, like a little bit of water, a little bit of sparkling water, and muddled strawberry. And it is seriously so delicious. I've had it several times since then as a mocktail doing that. And it's like the most refreshing and delicious drink. So those are my 2 options for cocktails.
I like it. Okay. And what about you, Allison?
Yeah, my favorite cocktail would also be the skinny spicy margarita, but I think it's both mine and Chloe's favorite drink. It's what we were trying to make from day one at that dinner party. And the margarita is the number 1 most popular cocktail in the country. So that makes sense. And yes, I like it traditionally with tequila. If I'm going to spice it up, I like a tahini rim. And for a mocktail, I love our Cosmo. It is, so Chloe and I are not like Cosmo drinkers, but when we formulated the Cosmo, we got hooked, and it's the most beautiful, like magenta color naturally, because it's a hibiscus cosmopolitan. So we use all natural hibiscus powder, and that gives it like a gorgeous natural pink. And it's just like really fun and different. So because we don't color our cocktails at all, like
Mm-hmm.
our margarita, our Paloma, our Mule, they kind of look the same. And that's because like natural ingredients are that like yellow
Right.
green color. Like we're not, our Paloma is not pink because grapefruit juice is not actually pink, that's coloring. So it's really fun with the Cosmo to have something different and all natural that's so beautiful with that magenta. It like makes it super fun when you're drinking it.
Absolutely. And the fun part, I mean, when you're having a mocktail especially, is really important because it's more about like the pouring the drink, having the, taking the sip of it, having it there. Like even when I know, like I mentioned, when I'm so happy and appreciative when restaurants have great mocktails, and when I get that mocktail and it looks as beautiful as a great indulgent drink, I'm so happy. It makes me happy. So I love that.
Exactly. I hope they're not charging you the same amount. That's the one thing I get frustrated with mocktails is
Right?
that, and like they do put a lot of effort into it. And I see a lot of menus that are like very intricate, like beautiful, delicious cocktails.
Yep.
But they shouldn't be charging you $20.
Well,
So.
absolutely. And I mean, it would be great to have the option of just bringing your own stick packet, just like you would bring, you bring, like when I travel, I'm bringing my electrolytes with me and I'm bringing creatine with me. Like I could bring a mocktail mix with me. I love this. I absolutely I love I love the fact that you sort of pivoted here and you're adding on this product. It's really, really cool. I think it's going to be super beneficial for so many people. I want to go back to something that we talked about at the very beginning. You talked about how when you were originally creating this product, you were really looking for something that was a little healthier and easier and to make a cocktail. And so and then we talked about, the challenges you had in getting this into the tea bag and now how you've pivoted. But I want to go back to where you talked about, again, the healthier and easier. So let's talk about the healthier side there. Like from a nutritional standpoint, you wanted to make sure that this was lower in sugar and used better ingredients. So can you give a comparison of one of your drinks, whether it's in the tea bag formula or in the stick packet, calories, sugar, like ingredients compared to maybe another type of cocktail mix out there?
For sure. So we can do our espresso martini, for instance. So our espresso martini, there are 4 ingredients in it. There is raw demerara sugar, there's coffee, there's roasted chicory root, and there's a little bit of monk fruit. There are 25 calories in the stick pack, and let me just look off the top of my head. I have the pack right here with me. And there are 5 grams of sugar. So it's low in terms of grams of sugar. Typically what you're going to see at a cocktail bar, they're going to be putting espresso. They're going to be putting simple syrup. They'll be putting a coffee liqueur in it. And all of those things together will be upwards of 15 to 20 grams of sugar on average. So it's a lot. It's a big difference. And we're still keeping it extremely, extremely natural. There's really no additives. What we call, and we only use this term because it's an industry term, but what we call our skinny cocktails, so our spicy margarita, we use sugar substitutes there. So it'll be zero grams of sugar, anywhere between 10 and 15 calories, compared to a margarita, which is, normally upwards of like 30 calories if you're getting it at a bar. Sorry, 30 grams of sugar if you're getting it at a bar.
Yeah, I was going to say 30 calories for a margarita at a bar.
Oh my God, no. Yeah.
I'm like, I think people will be drinking a lot more margaritas.
Yeah, so upwards of like 200 calories.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
For
that's
sure.
what I would say.
Yep. And in terms of our sugar-free ones, we're actually actively reformulating them. Right now, we use a combination of monk fruit and erythritol. Erythritol for a long time was a great substitute for sugar. It has a really kind of like one-to-one mouthfeel with sugar. But there have been studies coming out recently about erythritol and how it could potentially have long-term health, negative health effects. And we don't know, what the quality of these studies are, but either way, we're reformulating to remove it just because, we want.
Well, there's also more options now. There's more non-nutritive sweetener options than there used to be. I mean, like you just said, you mentioned monk fruit. You're using monk fruit's an option. There's things like allulose. I don't know if you're looking into that. I don't know what other ingredients you're looking at, but there are multiple options now, where years ago there weren't that many non-nutritive sweeteners that weren't these artificial sweeteners, like things like asulfame K. and those other types of ingredients. So you do there are more options. And like you said, for this mix, it's like, it's the better option. It's still an indulgence to some extent. I mean, even when you're making it a mocktail, it's still it's a conscious indulgence, and it's a much healthier indulgence, but you're selling indulgence. So you're making, like, it's the better option. You're not trying to make a health food here. You're trying to make a healthier option of something that would normally be an indulgence. So I think it's important for people to, like, remember that and think about that. Like, sometimes they're like, oh, but that ingredient should be that and that. And you have to sometimes remember, like, what the purpose of your drink is, right?
So true. Right. It's comparing it to what the other alternative.
Yeah, exactly. It's the better option. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, by the way, I didn't know you had that espresso martini one, and that sounds really delicious. I have to try that one. now really I'm craving delicious. That.
And we're actually reformulating that one to use coconut sugar instead of
okay.
sugar. And that, it tastes really delicious. It kind of has like a nutty, touch to it, which we think adds a lot to the espresso martini. So that is exciting. We have experimented with coconut sugar in some of our other formulas, but as Alison mentioned before, we really don't add anything for coloring, and coconut sugar is inherently like a little bit darker. So when we tried it in our margarita and our Paloma, we were like, ugh, like we don't like the way the color is turning out for this. So we don't think we're going to end up using it for all of our formulas, but for the espresso martini, it's a great option.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And because that does make a difference. Like you said, you don't necessarily need these bright colors, but you don't want colors that are off-putting, because someone's not going to want to drink something like that.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So we talked a little bit about the packaging and when as it relates to the tea bags, but now for the stick packets, are you also using sustainable packaging? We know that that's obviously something really important in the CPG space right now. Like, what are you doing there?
Yeah. So it's still fully recyclable materials. So we have no single-use plastics when it comes to both the tea bags or the stick packs, but all of our actual materials is made from post-consumer recycled film. So we're giving the packaging another life. And we have learned that there are some materials, like fully biodegradable, like stick packets, that we can start to explore as well.
Awesome. I'm shifting gears a little bit here, but I'm so curious. How, I know you met in business school and you were friends and you were having your dinner parties. Now, being partners, being co-founders, how do you manage your roles? We have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to this podcast. Some of them are solopreneurs, some of them have partners. How do you manage creative disagreements or tough decisions? I know you pivoted and you're changing up the packaging, like you mentioned. Like, how do you get through that together?
So I think, making sure that we have the our clearest lanes as possible, I think is really helpful. So I handle operations, finance, Alison handles marketing, product development. And then obviously, we're two founders. We share a lot of responsibilities. We both share fundraising, we share sales, we share, all of those kind of categories. But I do think having, somewhat defined roles is definitely helpful. In terms of, the really big decisions of the business, like pivoting to the stick pack and, that type of decision, we've really honestly been aligned on those. So there hasn't been any like combative moment where we like really disagreed. But I think over time, over the last few years, we've just learned to just be really open with each other and have like super open communication. And we're friends first, and we're very close friends. So I think it is easy to be honest with each other, kind of like be with a sister or a best friend, and not just a business partner. So I think that helps. And, always like knowing that nothing is personal. It's when it comes to these types of like decisions and like how we're feeling about different things, it is really about business. And then, our personal lives as friends together is really like somewhat separate. And of course, like during the day, sometimes we go back and forth between like talking about our kids and our dog and then talking about business things. But, I think like open communication has always really helped us.
Amazing. Yeah. Open communication and set roles. I love that. Sorry, Alison, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I agree. And like, kudos to those solo entrepreneurs who are listening in, because I definitely think it would be a lot more challenging and harder to get through the tough times if you didn't have a partner that you bounce ideas off of. And I think we make a good balance. So if there's certain days where one of us is like, oh, feeling a setback of the company, the other can be like, no, like, look at this great goal that's coming to fruition, and we can balance each other out. So
I think that is like what Allison just said. It has been really the most helpful thing. I think like even recently I called Allison just to vent about how I was like feeling really frustrated about something, and she really didn't feel the same way, which was actually great. She felt a lot more optimistic about what I was talking about. And I think that those types of conversations where, you're not necessarily on the same page, but it ends up really like being a positive thing is something that's helped us also.
Yeah, I can see that as someone that's been a founder and been on my own. I mean, I've had many great people involved in my business, but still really being the sole founder, I can absolutely appreciate that. And I can see how that would be incredibly helpful. Yeah, that's great. So what words of wisdom do you have for someone starting out? They have a great idea, like where to begin, how to get started, how to move forward. I think a lot of people get stuck in the idea phase. They have this idea, they want to do it, but they just are like, I have no clue where, how, what to begin. Do you have any words of wisdom for those people out there? Especially, I guess, maybe in the wellness space, like creating some kind of product in this health and wellness space.
Yeah, it's so tough because that is the toughest spot to get out of, when you have an idea, but you really don't know like what the first thing to do is. And it's funny because like I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I've always had these ideas like, over the years, and I never knew like what the next step was. Like, so people would be like, well, write a business plan. I'm like, well, what does that look like? Like how, like, business plans are like, there isn't a set format for a business plan.
Right.
There are certain things and components that you should have in it, but I felt really lost in that sense. And that's really honestly one of the big reasons I went to business school, is I wanted to understand like, and give myself the toolkit that I would need to get out there and do it. But I think like for anyone who has an idea, especially if it's in health and wellness and it's a product, it's like a consumer product, just make a prototype. Like just like come up with anything, like make it at home, just make a version of it and get feedback on it. And that's really what helped us just get out there is, okay, you have this idea, just make it. Like and it doesn't have to be a version that's like presentable or like something that you want to sell or something that you feel confident about. It just has to be something. And you'll continue to iterate and, make it over time, the best version of that idea that it will be. But it just, you have to make it. You have to make a prototype.
Yeah. And I would add, you need to let go of perfectionism. So it's hard because I'm sure a lot of founders are type A people, like Chloe and I both are. But I remember in the beginning when we were putting SAYSO out there, like Chloe was like, we need to have good branding. And I was like, no, we just need to like sell our product. Like, let's just like put it out there. And what you can like, okay, Canva is an incredible free resource for entrepreneurs. Like just mock something up. Like it doesn't have to be perfect.
Well, you're also going to shift things along the way. I always say, like, I always remind people of that in my community. There's a lot of, entrepreneurs that in the wellness entrepreneurs. And I always said, like, remember, even McDonald's, which is probably the worst example to use in my wellness community, but even they changed their arches, right? Like, they changed their arches. Like you can change your logo. You can change the name of your business. You can pivot. You can change that. You can get there. So sorry, continue with what you're saying, but I love where you're going.
Exactly. Like we're on our 4th version of packaging. We're on our 2nd business name. Like things are going to change, but if you are waiting for something to be perfect, then you likely are never going to launch it because there's something you can change.
Totally agree with that.
I was so stuck on that. I was so stuck on, we have to come out with a like product that we feel really proud of, that we can stand behind, that like looks great. And of course, like it was like the time of, all these like beautiful direct consumer brands coming out. And we just felt like we had to be at that level immediately, and it's not realistic and it's not productive either.
You got to keep moving forward. Yeah, you got to keep moving forward. But wait, on that note, actually, how did you come up with the name SAYSO?
It was over a product tasting. So Chloe and I we would meet. We used to work with a formulator based in Brooklyn, and since we're both New York based, we would meet at his studio to taste our products. And we do try them both with and without spirits.
Mm-hmm.
We were meeting one morning. It was quite early in the day, and the old fashioned was on the docket. So that's a quite spirit forward drink. And as we're trying our like third round of the old fashioned at 10 in the morning, Chloe or I said, "Oh, do you want another one?" And the response was, "If you say so." And so that's where the name SAYSO came from.
Oh, that's cute.
We actually used to have the name Steeped. So it was Steeped Cocktails. And of course, because of the teabag, that felt like a natural name that, represented what we were doing with the product. We ended up changing it because of a trademark issue. But we're really happy in hindsight that we didn't stick with it because, of course, now, the
right.
is not something that we steep. And we, even at that time, we were like, okay, our vision for this company is not just going to be a cocktail or mocktail. Like, we want to be the brand destination for cocktail and mocktailing. So we've recently come out with garnishes. We're planning to come out with rim salts. Like, there's going to be a lot more to this brand than just the drink mixes. So we feel like having a name that like felt more general and is personal to us, but like is, like
it's fun. It's fun. I like it.
Right.
Well, that was going to be my next question was, where do you see the brand going after the stick packs? Like, where do you see? And so you just said the salts, and then you said garnishes, and anything else you can share?
So salts and garnishes are, things that we have already mapped out. We potentially glassware, potentially, things that make sense with our current products as complementary products is somewhere that we would potentially go. But, for now, garnishes, rim salts, like really to create a complete cocktail experience is what we want to do.
Love it. Amazing. I love your story. It's so fun. I can't wait to have a mocktail just anytime I'm traveling and just have a little stick packet there and make myself a little espresso martini, non-alcoholic. Okay. I love it. Okay. So last question for you both. How do you each live your most nutritious life? I'll start with you, Allison.
So for me, something that really makes me feel better is taking a walk outside and getting fresh air. So
love it.
That is what I like to keep prioritizing. I get in my day-to-day. Chloe mentioned we're both moms. We have kids. We have dogs. We have a business, our third child. So sometimes the day can get away from me, but if I can make it that priority to get out and get fresh air and take a nice walk, it really makes me feel better.
Love it. Love it. What about you, Chloe?
For me, it's having a breakfast that is like high in protein. So I try to work out every morning. Some mornings it doesn't happen if we have, early morning engagements, but I try to work out in the morning, and then I try to have eggs or a smoothie with protein powder or something that's going to make me feel full and feel like it's helping, build my strength, because that's something I'm really focused on right now, is just like building muscle mass and strength. So that is recently what's been making me feel good.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I'm a big breakfast girl, so you got me there. I love it. Last question. Where can people find your products right now? And I know I said that last question was the last question, but this is the very last question. I promise.
You can find us on drinksayso.com, on Amazon. We just launched a TikTok shop, so you can find us there. And if you like going in stores in person, we're available nationwide at Sprouts Farmers Market. We're online at Thrive Market, and we're in the Fresh Market up and down the East Coast.
Incredible. Awesome. I can't wait to see what else you do. And it's a really, really exciting journey you're on. And I love your story. So thank you so much for sharing that. Have you ever looked at a skincare product and thought, I wonder if this is actually going to work? I mean, I think we've all done that, right? With OneSkin, I never wonder if it's going to work because I have real proof. Their whole company is led by scientists with backgrounds in tissue engineering, stem cell biology, and skin regeneration. And their products are backed by rigorous lab and clinical studies. The OS1 body is definitely helping my crepey skin, and I'm obsessed with the tinted OS1 Face SPF. It feels like butter going on, and it feels so good knowing that it's moisturizing my skin and protecting it all at the same time. I just love it. At the heart of their topical supplements is their proprietary OS1 peptide, the first ingredient scientifically proven to reverse skin's biological age by targeting cellular senescence. Those are those zombie cells that make your skin age faster than it needs to. Think about that crepey skin that we all want to get rid of. The research on their OS1 peptide has been published in peer-reviewed journals such as NPJ Aging. And not only that, the data for OS1 and their products clearly are listed on their website, so you can learn all about that and the incredible science behind all of their products. In lab studies, they've measured a 130% increase in collagen production with their OS1 eye cream. And another study showed that their SPF neutralizes free radicals. Those are those bad guy compounds that I always talk about, 4 times more effectively than other so-called anti-aging sunscreens. The proof is in the numbers, friends. Try OneSkin and see for yourself. And you can get 15% off your first order with the code Keri, that's Keri, at oneskin.co/Keri. That's oneskin.co/Keri.